This is demonstrating Legere, formerly known as VoiceDream Reader. For today's demonstration, I'll be using my Pixel 4 running Android 12 and TalkBack 12.1. For speech services, I am using the Google TTS or the Google Speech Services. I am on my home screen now and will navigate to a folder called eBook Readers. Tap here and go find and tap on Legere or simply Reader.
Folder. eBook Readers, 4 or more items.
I'll tap here to activate this folder.
Kindle.
Upon tapping on that folder, we're told Kindle. That's the first item in this folder. I'll move my finger to the right of that, and that will find Reader. That's the name of the icon for Legere, formerly known as VoiceDream Reader.
Reader.
I'll tap here to activate.
Reader. Legere Reader. Image. Reader. Select a voice.
I'll put my finger down.
Legere Reader comes with one high-quality voice of your choice. For your language, the most popular male and female voice are listed below. Voice files are large. Please download over a good Wi-Fi network and be patient.
In other words, the Legere Reader gives you one voice for your reading needs. These voices are from the a cappella group. Let's now move our finger down and see what we have.
Language.
We have language, and there's a drop-down.
Drop-down list. English.
If your language is not English, you tap here to go change and select your own language. Below that we have
Voice.
This is the voice heading. And this is where you could listen to the sample of the different voices. And here we have
Drop-down list. Sharon for language.
We have Sharon for the language for English. And below that,
Download button.
you could tap this to download Sharon if that's the voice that you want. Next,
Play sample button.
there's the play sample. If you tap here, you're going to hear what Sharon sounds like. And below that,
Other voices button.
we have other voices. So if you want other voices, you tap here to reveal those other voices.
Reader. Navigate up button.
I have tapped on the other voices, and let's look at what these other voices are. Starting from the top, we've got
Lisa acapella.
we got Lisa.
Play sample.
Tap on play sample.
Reader.
Hello, I am Lisa, the female Australian English synthetic voice from Acapella. Efficient, fast and of very high quality. I can read whatever you want. I have good news for you, you can try me out.
And if you like Lisa, for example, then
Free.
where it says free, you could just tap there to download it. Next,
Tyler acapella.
there's Tyler.
Play sample.
Play a sample.
Free.
And free.
Deepa acapella.
Deepa.
Play sample.
Play a sample.
Hello, I am
Read.
Deepa, one of the female Indian English speech synthesis voice from Acapella. Efficient, fast and of very high quality. Why not try me out with your own words in the context of your application?
There are several of these voices, and these are from Acapella, as I said earlier. And you could just scroll down, that is, put your two fingers in the middle of the phone and then glide those fingers upward, and that scrolls down the page. And you can try all the voices and or play the samples and see which one you prefer. And once you find the one that you like, then you move your finger to the free or swipe till you hear it says free and just tap on that to download. I'm not going to go through all those voices because we'll spend all of our time just playing samples. I'll now go back and I'm actually going to download the Sharon for my voice.
Download button.
And I'm downloading Sharon. I'll tap here.
Voice Sharon. Downloading. 70%. Progress bar.
There we go. It finishes my download, and now we're on this page that says,
Legere Reader Quick Reference, Heading 1.
this is a quick reference. In other words, you can go through this and get familiar with it. But for now, though, I'm going to go ahead with showing you the tour. So I'm going to close this quick reference by going back.
Reader. All items 1/1, filled down pointing triangle.
I am now back in the main UI of the app, and there's one free book, and that is the Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice. 12 hours 34 minutes and 14 seconds. Jane Austen, in list.
We're told that this book will take 12 hours to read. However, let's go ahead and look at the UI. Let's see what we have here in the way of buttons and things like that. At the top, we've got some buttons. On the right, we've got 3 buttons. To the rightmost, we have more options. And to the left of that, we have sort. And to the left of that is bookshelf. And that's the display that we're actually in.
More options, button.
Going left,
Sort.
sort, and
Bookshelf view.
bookshelf view. Now above the displaying item, which in this case is that Pride and Prejudice, just above that on the left is the search.
Search, button, out of list.
Those are the 4 buttons that we find near the top. Let's now go ahead and tap on the more options before we go to the last button at the bottom right of the phone.
More options, button.
Tapping on more options.
Manage my voices.
Upon tapping on more options, we're landed on Manage My Voices. In other words, I could tap here to go choose a different voice. Let's go down and see what else we have here in this menu.
Content sources.
Content sources. In other words, we could tap here and see the different sources from where we could choose to read or download books from, and that includes the likes of Bookshare. We'll come back to it though, but let's go through the items and see what we got.
Settings.
Settings.
Help.
Next.
FAQ.
Next.
About.
Next.
Contact us.
And
Write a review.
write a review. Let's go back now to settings and see what the settings has.
Settings. Settings. Navigate up. Button, out of list.
Here is settings. Put my finger near the top.
Default browser.
Default browser. And you could tap here and go choose your browser that you would like to use.
Checked. Choose. Checkbox. 1 of 3. In
You
list.
could
3
choose
items.
or
Not checked. Built-in. Checkbox. 2 of 3.
built-in or
Not checked. Chrome. Checkbox. 3 of 3.
Chrome. I'm going to go back.
Reader.
That takes me out of the menu. I'm going to tap on more options again.
More options. Button. Manage my voices.
I'll now go down to content sources.
Content sources.
Let's go ahead and tap here.
Content sources. Navigate up. Button, out of list.
Upon tapping on content sources, we've got some items. The first item here is
Bookshare. In list.
Bookshare, and right of that we have an on-off switch.
Off. Switch.
And that is off. The next one is Pocket.
Pocket.
Also we have an off. And also we have an on-off switch.
Off. Switch.
But then below that we have a more.
More. Button.
And that means if I tap on that more, I could choose how many items I want from Pocket. It starts at 50, 100, 200, and so on. I'm not going to go into it, but you could choose to go look into it if that's what you want to do. And below that we have
Instapaper.
Instapaper. And of course, we have that on-off switch. And
Off. Switch.
then there's some more.
More. Button.
And of course, you could tap on that more to go choose as to how many articles you would like from the Instapaper. It's just like that pocket, 50, 100, 200, and so forth. The one that I would like to demonstrate, though, is how to go about using Bookshare. And so I'm going to put my finger up and tap on Bookshare.
Bookshare.
And I'm going to turn that on.
Off. Switch. Bookshare login. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Tapping on that now asks for our Bookshare login information.
Email or username. Edit box.
Here we hear email or username for Bookshare. I'm going to mute this recording and put in my info, then come back and go from here.
Editing. Password. 9 characters. Edit box.
There's my password, and now I'll tap on sign in just below that.
Sign in. Button. Navigate up. Button. Content sources. Save password to Google.
And I'm asked as to whether or not I want to save my password to Google, and I'm going to tap at the bottom there where it says Save Password.
Save password to Google.
And now I am logged onto Bookshare. We're back now to the main UI of the app, and at the bottom right corner is a single button that says Add Document. Let's go ahead and tap here to add a document.
Add document. Button. Pop. Choose file. In list.
The first item here is choose file. So if I tap here, it will take me to the internal storage of my phone. And from there, I could go choose where my book is located, whether it's in a folder called Books or whatever folder that I have my books. Below that, we have
Web browser.
web browser. In other words, when I have an article on the web that I would like to use, then all I need to do is tap on that more options in that browser and go choose the share and choose the Legere Reader to share it with and be able to read from here. The third item will be our Bookshare that we just logged onto earlier.
Bookshare.
I'll go ahead and tap here.
Categories. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Now that we are in Bookshare, near the top we have the search, and that is found about an inch from the top left corner.
Search. Button. Out of list.
Below that search are 4 tabs. By default, title is the one that we're landed on by default.
Selected. Checked. Title. Checkbox. 1 of 4. In list. 4 items.
So in other words, when I hit that search button, I'll be searching for a title. If I don't want to search by title, then the other tabs that we have, on the left of that title, we have
Not checked. Author. Checkbox. 2 of 4.
If I tap on that and I hit on search, I'll be searching by author. The next tab is
Not checked. ISBN. Checkbox. 3 of
that
4.
means when I tap on the search, I'll be using the ISBN number. And the last tab here is
Not checked. Full text. Checkbox. 4 of 4.
full text. So in other words, when I check this and I tap on search and I find what I'm looking for, the whole text will be displayed on my screen. Now below all of that, we have all the different categories, things like popular,
Popular. In list. Latest. Grades. Categories. Periodicals.
and
History.
those are the categories that we have. Now let's go ahead and tap on the search button and go see if we could search for something.
Search. Button. Out of editing.
I have tapped on search and I'm going to search for Douglas MacArthur.
Voice input.
Douglas MacArthur.
Search. Keyboard hidden. Reader. Now.
Let's look at my result.
Douglas MacArthur. American warrior, Arthur Herman, enlist.
And that will be
Download button.
so. In other words, to the right of every single title is the download.
American Caesar. Douglas MacArthur 1880-1964, William Manchester.
And to the right of that
Download button.
is download. Now, if you want to read a little bit of a synopsis of the book,
American Caesar.
then all you need to do is tap on that title. I'll tab here on the title.
Book detail. American inspiring, outrageous period a thundering paradox of a man. Douglas MacArthur, one of only 5 men in history to have achieved the rank of General of the United States Army. He served in World War
That is the details. And just above that on the right edge is a download.
Download button.
You tap there,
American Caesar. Douglas MacArthur 1880-1964.
and that should be downloading my book. I'm going to go back to the menu UI,
Reader. Add document. Button for add document.
and I'm back in the menu UI. Let's see now if we have the book that we just downloaded.
American Caesar. 39 hours, 33 minutes and 17 seconds. William Manchester, enlist.
And we're told we have a total of 39 hours to read this book, and below that, of course, would be that Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice. 12 hours.
And that's the one that comes on the book.
American Pride and Prejudice. 12 hours 34 minutes and 14. American Caesar. 39. Pride and Prejudice. 12 hours 34 minutes and 14 seconds. Jane Austen.
And that's the one that comes by default with the app from the classics. Now, if we want to read any of these, all that needs to happen is to tap on it. I'll tap on that. Now, upon tapping on that, let's look at what other options now we have. Starting on the top, we've got,
More options. Button.
that's on the top right corner. Tapping on that, we've got,
Export highlights.
we have export highlights. That's if you have anything highlighted, or
Export all text.
export the whole text. I'm going to go back.
More options. Button.
And to the left of that more options, we've got buttons like
Bookmark.
bookmark. So if you're reading and you find a place you want to bookmark, you could tap here. To the left of that, we've got
Audio setting.
audio settings. We'll come back to that. And to the left of audio settings, we've got
Visual settings.
visual settings. In other words, if you have some usable site, you could go change how the visuals would be. Let's go to that audio settings because this may be important to some people.
Audio setting.
Let's tap here.
Audio setting. Navigate up.
Tapping on audio settings, here are the items that we find.
Speech rate.
We have the speech rate.
140 words per minute.
We've got 140 words per minute.
14%. Speech rate is 140. Slider.
And the slider's 14%. Let's keep going.
Decrement speech rate. Button.
Or I could tap here to decrease the speech rate or
Increment speech rate. Button.
increase the speech rate. Let's keep going.
Accessibility content description for document.
Accessibility, and we have
Not selected. None. Radio button. 1 of 3. In list. 3 items.
or
Selected. First few words. Radio button. 2 of 3.
first few words or
Not selected. Full text. Radio button. 3 of 3.
full text. Let's keep going.
On duck. Out of list.
And while on the dock, we have
Selected. Pause resume. Radio button. 1 of 2. In list. 2 items.
We have the pause, resume, and that's selected by default.
Not selected. Adjust volume. Radio button. 2 of 2.
Or you could choose the volume adjustment for the dock. Let's keep going.
Checked. Skip margins. Checkbox. Out of list.
We have the skip margins. In other words, if you don't want to hear anything that's in the margins, then you could leave this checked. But if you do want to hear it, then uncheck it.
Not checked. Toggle play on shake. Checkbox.
You could decide to check this so that when you shake it, it will start playing, and shake it again to stop playback.
Not checked. Force accessibility features on. Checkbox.
You can force accessibility.
Pronunciation dictionary.
In other words, you find a word that is not being pronounced right, you could go in here and change how that word is pronounced. Let's go to the next.
Voice. Voice.
We have voice,
Language.
language,
Drop down list. English.
and
Not checked. Show all. Checkbox.
if you tap on the show all, it'll show you everything that you have in the way of the voices.
Not checked. Hide built-in. Checkbox.
If you tap here, it will hide your inbuilt TTS engines. In other words, if you have other engines that you have locally on your phone and you tap here, those are not going to show. If you leave it unchecked as it is now, you should be able to see your local TTS engines that you can choose from to use with this reader. Let's look at these items.
Selected. Sharon English radio button. 1 of 146. In list. 146 items.
As you can hear, there are a total of 146 items. And so you can scroll down. Now I'm going to go back.
Reader. Audio setting. Out of list.
Now at the bottom of the phone, we have some buttons. Starting from the left, we've got
Bookmarks. Button.
bookmarks. We're going to come back to that because that's where you go to choose a chapter. To the right of that, we've got
Previous item. Button.
previous item,
Play. Button.
play button,
Next item. Button.
then the last item there
Search. Button.
is search. But there's another item just below that search, and that will be the navigation movement.
Select navigation unit. Button.
Select the navigation unit. Let's tap here and talk about that for a little bit.
15 seconds. In list.
Tapping on that, you could navigate by either 15 seconds,
30 seconds.
30,
60 seconds. Sentence. Paragraph. Chapter. Highlight.
and
Bookmark.
I prefer the chapter because what happens is that sometimes when you go tap on a chapter, it does not move to it. So you have to use your navigation units. In other words, you'll tap on that next. And so I prefer to choose the chapter so that when I tap on next, it will move me to the next chapter. I'm going to select the chapter navigation.
Selected. Chapter. Reader. Select navigation.
Now I'm going to tap on the play found at the bottom in the middle.
Play. Button.
Chapter 1. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single
And now I'm gonna
man in
stop.
possession of a good fortune.
Now let's go ahead and tap on that bookmarks. That's the first button on the bottom left that I was talking about. And from there, we'll see the chapters.
Bookmarks. Button. Chapters. Markers. Pride and Prejudice.
And here we got
Chapter 1. 0. Chapter 3. 1.3%.
So for instance, let's say I go tap on chapter
Chapter 10. 10.9%.
chapter 10.
Chapter 10.
There's chapter 10.
The day passed much.
So in other words, you can read it with your screen reader if you want to. Now watch, if I go tap on the play near the bottom in the middle, instead of it reading chapter 10, it's going to continue reading chapter 1. Watch this.
Play.
Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Chapter 1. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single
You
man
can
in
see
possession of a
this
good
is what I'm
fortune
talking about, is
must
reading
be
chapter
in want
1.
of a wife.
I'll take the next.
However little known the feelings or
Next
views
item.
of such
Button.
a man. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter 5. Chapter 6. Chapter 7. Chapter 8. Chapter 9. Chapter 10. The day passed much as the day before.
And
at
there's
home.
our chapter 10.
Mrs. Hurst and
I'll
Miss
stop.
Bingley had spent
Play.
hours of the
Button.
morning with.
And that stops the playback. So that's how you go about navigating and using the Legere Reader, formerly known as VoiceDream Reader.